can let your hair down. Hey, I got my hands in my pockets, kicking these rocks.
Good evening and welcome to the Carolyn Holt Show. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to give you the number right away because I believe tonight you're certainly going to want to call in. The number is area code 323-293-3375. Again, that's area code 323-293-3375. Now tonight we have an exciting guest. She is responsible for something that many of us deal with on a regular basis, and we don't quite know what to do and how to take care of ourselves regarding this. I'm talking about stress management. And the reason I bring it up is because later this week, I'm having my 29th birthday again. And many times when it's your birthday, people get all stressed out and they don't feel like they've accomplished much and they just don't know what to do with themselves. Well, I say celebrate. And so tonight, my special guest and co-host is Miss Sahara Ali. Hi, Sahara.
Hi, Carolyn, and thank you for having me.
Well, I am so happy you joined me. The reason I invited Sahara tonight is because she's a life coach and she's a stress management counselor. And since so many of you deal with the issue of stress, I have her on as my guest because I want you to get the proper tools and the proper information to deal with stress. So I'm going to talk to Sahara a little bit about her background and what led her to being the official person she is about stress and life and many things in life, because you do a lot of affirmations, some wonderful things that we can embrace and we can use. So tell us a little bit about your journey and how you found out that this really is where you should be.
Well, I always tell people everything that I loved when I was a kid, I do now, and I get paid for it. You know, when I was 10,
I like that.
I grew up in a foster home when I was 10, and I would watch yoga on TV. I would watch the Maharishi Yogi on TV doing the meditation. So after yoga, then I would meditate, and then I would go ride my bike. And so this started when I was 10. Mm-hmm. And so now that I'm after my 29th birthday,
okay,
I do yoga,
Mm-hmm.
I teach yoga, I teach meditation, I meditate, and I teach stress management. Mm-hmm. And little did I know all of these things that brought me joy when I was little, mm-hmm. which other people thought was very weird, is now something that I'm very passionate about, and I have enough insight about it and enough education behind it to support other people with their stress and dynamics of their life where we sometimes feel like we lose control.
Right. Now, you mentioned that people thought you were weird, and many times when people have a lack of understanding, unfortunately, weird is the first assignment that they give to things.
Well, we live in a judgmental society. Anything that is different than what we've been programmed with is judged as different or weird. However, now weird is very much acceptable, and it's really interesting because when I was 24 years old, I had a yoga studio. So I've been doing yoga long before yoga has been popular and before there was a yoga studio on every corner. In fact, my first yoga teacher was Cheryl Harriman, and she had a yoga studio on the west side on Santa Monica Boulevard, and she was one of the first black yoga teachers, and her teacher was the first female yoga teacher, Indru Devi. And Indru Devi and Iyengar, and if you're a yoga fan, you understand all of this, but tonight is about stress management, and yoga is a part of that also. So, like, I've been a part of very strong women, mm-hmm. very strong groundbreakers as far as stress management, life coaching, and overall wholeness and health.
Right.
For a long time.
Well, and that's the main thing is wholeness and health. People really struggle to be whole, let alone being healthy, but just being whole. So what would your recommendation in terms of your background and your experience, what would the recommendation be? First of all, to recognize when you're out of sync, and secondly, what to do to bring yourself, because I know that yoga is about finding that in yourself.
Well, one thing that is really important, which I advocate constantly with my program called the Mind Gym, which is a program that gives you mental exercises to help you manage yourself, to manage your life, to manage the expression of who you are as a human. The thing is emotional management.
Okay.
We always have a choice in every situation. You know, my grandmother used to say it takes two to be ugly. You know, so you can be ugly by yourself, which won't last very long, or you can be ugly with somebody else. But emotional management is so important, and a lot of society is lacking the ability to manage their emotions and to be discerning. You know, we have an opportunity in any situation to make a choice.
Right.
You know, we can choose to interact with it or we can choose to step out of it, and that is emotional management. And to conduct yourself in an adult situation. A lot of society has parent-child relationships. Like someone is a child pouting, whining, and having a temper tantrum, and someone is a parent. And the thing is, we are adults and have an adult situation. A 3-year-old, yes, we accept a temper tantrum.
Okay.
You know, a 30-year-old, no, we have to rethink this. So it's the emotional management, discernment, and having an adult relationship.
Yes. Well, I understand that. Now you said that at 24 you had a studio.
Yes, I had a yoga studio on Washington in Culver City, and my studio also had a boutique. The same things that you see now in the yoga studios is what I had then, and I had a wonderful clientele. I had my business at 24 and 24 to 27. So, you know, I got married, had kids, and la.
Well, now before 24, let's talk a little bit about that, because I just find your journey very fascinating. In that, in high school, you finished high school early.
Yes.
Now, what would you say? Because most people just don't have the intelligence or the wherewithal or the capability to even finish high school on time, let alone early.
Well,
what would you attribute?
I was a very driven young person. I mean, you know, you would say I'm an old soul if people say that.
Okay,
so I was mature, you know, really early in life, and I had to make some choices about who I was willing to be in this world, because my mother died when I was 10 and I grew up in a foster home. I had older sisters, but it was always the reality is that I must take care of me. And in understanding that, and, you know, you see it nowadays and it's more celebrated today than it is in other times. But it's like my relationship with God. And knowing that there is a source greater than I am that I'm connected to that governs all intelligence. And all intelligence comes from God. And in having and respecting your intelligence, then you allow yourself to manage your emotions. You allow yourself to have an adult situation. And you are able to view stresses in your life from a different perspective.
Okay. Well, the reason I'm so fascinated for a young person to not only understand that, but live that. What would you say, other than your relationship with God, what would you say really catapulted you into that space where you could stay there? You could really live that.
Self-love. And I think that is so important for everyone to have. If you don't love yourself, you can't love anyone else. In fact, one of my mantras is in my Mind Gym program is, don't live life from an empty cup. You cannot give what you don't have. And if you're giving from an empty cup, then that's a superficial relationship. And if that relationship
even with yourself.
Even with yourself. You know, you have to nurture yourself. You have to take care of yourself. And part of nurturing and loving yourself basically is the first step in stress management.
You need to say that again, because it's so many people, they don't get that part. They're busy. They can give it out, but they deplete themselves. And before you know it, they don't have anything left to give. Then it turns to anger, then stress, and there's nowhere to go with that. So in terms of your specific journey, when times were tough or when you faced unbelievable hardship or just you weren't sure how life was going to treat you at any given time, was there any particular tool that you used in the moment to kind of get through the anxiety, the fear, the...
I'm constantly using prayer.
Okay.
You know, and so
great
and
one.
this is how I will break this down.
Okay.
Okay. Prayer is when we talk to God.
Yes.
Meditation is when we listen.
Okay.
And so
I love that. Prayer is when we talk to God.
Right.
And meditation is when we listen.
Yes.
Because many times we don't listen to God. So
A lot of times we don't listen to God. I mean, that is one of the main things with stress. And also stress is anger turned inward. And so when we're not listening to God, when we are just talking to God and not listening or meditating or going into that world behind your eyes where truth exists,
yes.
you get stressed out because you're angry about situations you have no control over, and you may be reacting to something that was done to you. But if we understand and listen, we have an inner navigation, which I call your God processing system,
Okay.
GPS. We have our own natural GPS, our God processing system.
Okay.
And our God processing system is that voice within us that will tell us, don't go over there, make a right, make a left.
Yes.
And if we stop and listen, we are guided to the place where we're supposed to be. There are no accidents. Everything happens for a reason. And if you really think about your life, if we really take time to reflect, that there has always been an energy within us that allows us to understand something higher and greater than we are, whether or not we want to listen to it or respond to it.
Right.
The bottom line, we all have that. When we wake up in the morning, we'll get a feeling, go over here. You know, I call it picking fruit. When you go to the supermarket,
Okay.
maybe it's apples. You pick up one apple, you put it down. You find another apple, you put it down. Finally, you pick an apple that serves you. That's your innate intelligence saying this apple is for you, not this one. For whatever reason, the energy on this apple is good for your being. And so that's how I've kind of navigated my life, with understanding that knowingness, like to go here, to go there, and to listen to that and to trust that. And I think trusting that allows me to be the life coach that I am, to support other people, because it gives you discernment.
Oh, okay. Now, for just for a working definition for the program, how would you state what discernment is just for the regular audience?
Okay. Discernment is your ability to step away and review.
Okay. That's a good definition. I
Okay?
like that.
Basic definition.
Yes.
To step away and reevaluate the situation. Look at it from a different perspective. Examine it from all angles before you allow yourself to step into it, to judge it, and to react to it.
Okay.
You know, because we have programs
Okay.
that we run, that we have inherited. And just as human beings, there are certain dynamics that we have as Black people in our DNA based on what we've experienced, and it's fear.
Okay.
We are because we've lived in slavery, and I won't just break it down to just, minorities. The bottom line is that we all have conditioned response that have been developed based on the circumstances of our lives.
Right.
And the programs of which have been a part of our lives based on our mothers, our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers, our fathers, our grandfathers, and so on. And so it's real important for us in managing stress to look at what program am I running.
Okay.
Just for myself, one day I was at a restaurant and I was eating and I was full and I was like, ugh. And I looked at the plate and I thought, like, okay, why am I continuing to eat when I am not hungry? And it dawned on me, it's my program. My mother says, clean your plate.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm running the program, clean your plate.
Okay.
So we all have different programs that we run that we have deemed so important, that may be so outrageous, that doesn't serve the moment. And when we're running these programs that don't serve the reality of our lives, we create stress.
Okay.
We create anxiety. We create emotional disturbance. we create an imbalance in our nervous system.
Okay. Well, then that's what we want to do. We want to change the programming. And if you want to do that, you can call me at 323-293-3375. We're going to go to break, and we'll be back to talk about some ways to manage all of this stress in our lives.
Don't worry.
Well, you know what? We don't want any stress in your life to get to litigation, okay? So don't worry, be happy. We have someone here to help you tonight. Her name is Sahara Ali, and she is a life coach and a stress management counselor. And, you know, for this show, we're going to use the working definition that the Mayo Clinic gives regarding stress. And it simply says that stress is a physical, mental, and emotional response to a challenging event. Now, I know that a lot of you out there are facing a lot of challenges in your life, but you don't have to worry. I am the Chief Inspiration Officer for your life, and you can call this show at area code 323-293-3375, and we can talk about it and help you put your life in perspective and manage your stress, because we want to minimize as much as we can. And one of the ways to minimize a lot in your life is to manage your stress. And so we have Sahara here with us, and she's going to share with us. She has about 25 ideas and thoughts in terms of some things and some approaches that'll help you. So what's the
first of all, let's honor the Mayo Clinic definition of stress.
Okay.
And there are two types of stress.
Okay.
There's good stress and bad
positive
stress.
and negative. Yes.
Right.
And they did say that.
Yeah, and good stress is a wedding, having a baby, buying a new house. All of that's very stressful, but it brings you joy. Mm-hmm. Okay. Bad stress is losing your job, maybe getting a divorce, maybe, having a car accident. That's bad stress. And it's how we respond to the stressors. Okay. Because we're constantly stressed. When we're driving in our cars, we're stressed. When we go to the supermarket, there is stress that hovers constantly, but it's our perspective of stress and how we allow ourselves to interact with stress.
Okay.
And so my first definition or my first tool to help you support stress is to recognize what your stress is.
Okay.
And to take your power back from the situation that appears to be stressful and be, again, my word, discerning. Step away from it, evaluate it, and see, is this something that you can handle, or is this something you need support with handling, or is this something that you should even take on at all? And the second part is to rate your stress on a scale of 1 to 10.
Okay.
Is this a deal breaker for me? On 1, it's like, can I walk away? A 6, okay, I'm having a physical reaction to it. A 10, definitely you would probably need some medical support with the stress that is a 10, because then it shows that you're totally outside of your element and you have no management of self in the dynamic. The other one is to count your blessings. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when we are experiencing stress, we forget about what's good in our lives.
Right.
And we focus mostly on the negative, and that's the phrase, is the glass half empty or is the glass half full?
Okay.
And so how do you perceive that glass? And there's that word again. And then the other thing is, what I really love to do is to do a physical exercise. So what affects the mind affects the body. And if the body is responding to a situation outside of you, the mind can change. So if you can identify it with your intellectual mind, then your physical body will release and let go. So I call it divide and conquer. And so what you do is you get a piece of paper, you fold it in half.
Okay, let's make sure we get the details of this. Okay, you're going to get a piece of paper.
Right.
And you're going to fold it in half.
Right.
Okay.
And on one side, you list the good stress, and on the other side, you write the bad stress.
Okay.
So,
good stress on left side, bad stress on right side. We'll just to make it simple.
Right.
Okay.
So the first step I suggest is to write down all the bad stressors.
Okay.
to get them up and out of your system.
All
Because
right.
the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference whether or not you're acting out the stress or if it's just being something that's generated through a movement. Because
Okay.
the subconscious mind can be tricked that way. That's why affirmations work.
Okay.
And so once you get the bad stress out of once you identify it and get it out of your system, then you start writing about what you're grateful for. You contrast that. It's like, well, I don't have any money, but I have a nice family. You know,
Oh, okay.
I have a lot of schoolwork, but I am in school and I do have A's. So you put it in perspective, basically. That's the divide and conquer. Really put it in perspective and divide the good stress from the bad stress and try to focus more on the good stress and how you can handle it. And that's the third part of the divide and conquer. To look at your list and to also think about what are the actions I'm willing to take to support this.
Okay.
What actions am I willing to allow myself to engage in that will support this happy stress? What actions am I willing to engage in to help delete this negative stress? And do I have control over it?
All right. Because control, I know, in almost any situation in life, how you feel in terms of handling the situation is just always, I guess it would be the deal breaker, because if you feel out of control, then you are.
And
so-
that leads up to the what is it, number 5 on the 25 list is to take time out. Take time out for yourself. Step away from what it is that you're consumed with
Okay.
and take time out. Get quiet. And I would say get quiet and what did I say? Meditation is listening to God and prayer is talking to God.
Yes.
So I would take time out and have a conversation with God. Stevie Wonder wrote it best, just have a talk with God and listen, and then take the time to listen. So taking time out, you could take a walk around the corner, you could take a drive, you could take a bath, you could wash dishes, you could zone out in a book
And
or TV
you can
show.
do these things whether you believe in God
or not.
or not.
Or not.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, managing stress, you don't have to believe in God. I just love God because I understand it's a higher force energy. You can name it God or the divine intelligence that moves through all of us. Whatever you call it, bottom line, it's something higher than us that's navigating us, and we are attuned to that, all of us.
okay. Makes sense to me.
Right.
Okay, so number 5. What's number 5 on the
Well,
list?
we did number 5 was
Okay, number
taking-
6.
Number
Okay.
6 is stop trying to be perfect.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You mean with living without flaw perfect? Is that the perfect you mean?
Yeah, and we live in a society that advocates being perfect. You turn
Yes.
on the TV, the perfect hairstyle, the perfect lipstick, the perfect this. And perfect, again, is a personal perspective. It's like in different parts of the world, skinny is sick and fat is wonderful.
That's true. In especially the Texas, Louisiana region where I'm from, it's a sign of health and wealth and that your family is doing well if you carry a little weight.
Yeah, so what's perfect? Again, it's an opinion that someone else has. There is a divine order that we all adhere to, but perfection, that's almost impossible.
Well, yeah, because to live without flaw is not reality. And if you believe that you are living without flaw, then I guess that's called delusional or some term that's
Did
not.
you just call yourself Trump? Did you just say you were Trump?
No, I did not. But I hope he listens to the show. This will help him. This show will help.
He's perfect.
This will help Donald Trump. Okay, so number
7 is say no. And this is a huge mantra that I give my clients all the time. Say no to say yes to yourself.
okay.
Sometimes you have to say no to your neighbor that you can't come over here because you're taking care of yourself. Sometimes you have to say no to your kids because you're taking care of yourself.
That's right.
Say no to say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself helps alleviate stress, but it also helps you honor the loving that you have for yourself and to recharge yourself so that you can embrace your life better.
Yes. Well, you know what? All you people out there who have a problem saying no, now this is the opportune time to call because Sahara can help you. Okay. So you need to call 323-293-3375. And tonight will be the night that your life changes for the better because saying no is as important as saying yes. Okay? All right. So we want the people who struggle with no to call us, and we want the people who struggle with yes to call us as well. So we are no respecter of persons here. We want both of them to call. So, all right. So number what? Eight. Okay.
Number 8 is laugh.
What? I see so many people that struggle with laughter. I don't understand why, because I think it's what you should do all day long. But
Yeah, and some of us have a hard time with getting in touch with that sense of freedom. But laughing allows your lungs to open to bring oxygen to the brain. There's a physiology that happens with laughing that
Okay.
reduces stress from your nervous system and releases tension.
Okay.
And the brain is so intelligent that we cannot contain 2 emotions at one time. We can't laugh and cry at the same time. We either have to cry, ooh, oh, woe is me, or we have to laugh. And that's why laughter is so important.
all right, I like that because not only is laughter so important, but you talk about a physical experience. Laughter creates an experience. I don't think you can have the experience through any other mechanism except for laughter. The experience that laughter in itself creates. I'm not sure you can get that from anything else. So I think it's very important. Plus, it's good for your face. That's the important thing. Laughter is very good for your
A
face.
natural Botox treatment.
Yeah.
Work it, Carolyn. I love it. And number 9 is to step outside of yourself.
Okay.
Reach out to someone who will support you. Have a talk with someone that you trust. Just reach outside of yourself. Maybe go to your yoga studio and meditate with somebody, or call a friend and have a laugh on the phone or something. But reach out.
Yes.
Reach out is number 9.
Okay.
And number 10 is breathing.
Okay. Breathing. I like that one.
Okay, and there's a formula to breathing.
Okay.
And in yoga, we do various breaths to accelerate the mind and to also decrease the dynamics of the mind. And there are breathing exercises that you can do to support healthy sleeping, but also maintaining anxiety before a meeting or meeting with someone. And breath is so simple, and we take it for granted.
Okay, is there a demonstration that you can do now that'll kind of pinpoint the different aspects of breathing?
Well, one easy way to
Okay.
learn how to breathe
Okay.
is to blow up a balloon.
All right.
Because you have to take a deep breath in and you have to blow the air into the balloon.
Okay.
And so one of the breathing techniques is that you breathe in and you blow the balloon in segments, like let out a little breath and pause.
Okay.
Let out a little more and pause. And a little more and pause. So we can do that. And it's like blowing up a balloon. So if you just take a deep breath,
Okay.
pause and hold the breath,
Okay.
and then slowly exhale and pause.
Mm-hmm.
Exhale again and pause, and then exhale all the way. And so now the balloon has just a little bit of air, and then you do it again. You take in a deep breath. And what this does is slow the cells.
I was just going to say, I'm starting to feel sleepy. I'm starting to relax, and I'm not going to go to sleep, you guys, but that's how I'm feeling.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So breathing. And breathing is easy, and a lot of people take for granted that breath is available to us. And breath
And
is
it's free. It's still free. We don't have to pay for that. So.
But it's what we're born with. It's an automatic thing that the nervous system utilizes. And number 11 is meditation. And meditation could be just deep breathing. And meditation can also be a movement. Walking and breathing is a walking meditation. Sitting and breathing is a sitting meditation. Moving your arm and breathing is a physical movement like Tai Chi or yoga. It all utilizes the breath, which is a form of meditation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Tai Chi and yoga, they are physical exercises?
Physical forms of meditation.
Oh, physical forms
Yeah,
of
or like
meditation.
meditation in action.
Oh, okay.
Walking is meditation in action,
Okay.
bringing the mind to the movement.
Oh, okay.
Because there's sitting meditations, there are moving meditations, there's mental meditations, there's vocal meditations.
Well, just for a moment, if you don't mind, let's talk about the sitting meditations, because I think people encounter that the most when working. Many times they're doing a particular job and the boss is perhaps not happy, and they become stressed out about not meeting the deadline or whatever. Is there something in the moment that they can do to kind of neutralize that situation?
Well, when the boss is talking to you, number one, to listen, but not take it in as a direct attack to self.
Okay.
That
You got
this
that?
is someone else's opinion, this is somebody else's expectation, and yes, this is your job, and yes, sometimes we have this emotional shift when we have, and here we go again with the parent-child dynamic. With our bosses, sometimes we make them a parent and we respond like a child, so we lose our power, and so we create stress for ourselves. But if it's an adult situation, and you can listen to him and understanding what his opinion is, what your truth is, and come to a happy medium. That is one thing you can do in a situation like that.
In the moment,
In the
yes.
moment. In the moment.
Okay.
To make this an adult situation and to allow yourself to listen but not take ownership to what's being directed towards you if it's not your truth. You know, now if you're guilty, that's another thing.
And to stay there just for a moment, but what about in a relationship, to say just in a male-female relationship, and one person is really upset and perhaps does not have the control in anger that they should have, and they are inflicting all of that in a particular scenario. They are really angry and upset. So how do you, as the recipient?
Well,
of that?
again, it depends on how escalated the situation is.
Okay.
And it also depends on the value you have for yourself. If
Okay.
you allow yourself to be in a situation where there's a violation of who you are,
Okay.
then you know, my philosophy is when you point a finger, there's one at that person, three back at you, and one at God. So if
Man,
you-
do I remember that from my parents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, a program. And so if you are in a volatile situation, again, taking care of yourself, understanding what your truth is, and if there's physical violation, then most definitely I would say seek some help and step away from that. But if it's just, you know, we all have agreements and disagreements.
Okay.
Sometimes it's healthy arguments and unhealthy arguments. And again, managing your emotions when you're dealing with a situation. If there's a violent situation, then you retreat and take care of yourself. You don't stay there, especially if you're going to put yourself in harm's way. That doesn't really make sense,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
Right.
But often, though, you know, thinking kind of depending on the situation, sometimes people don't think their way through situations. They just react.
Because it's
to what's-
emotions.
yeah.
It's emotions. And emotions, I say emotions interfere with the truth of which we stand.
Amen.
Because we get caught up in the moment and then we have to apologize. And so my perspective of emotions, and here I go with another acronym is ego, edging God out, or edging the goodness out of your life.
Okay.
So if you're
I like that. Did you guys hear that? Ego, edging the goodness out. I like that.
Right.
I'm a big acronym fan myself. So.
I have a lot of them.
Well, I like hearing them. So,
Thank you.
okay. And the next.
I gotta put my eyeballs on for
Okay.
this one. So we number 12,
Okay.
my favorite is exercise. You know, you could ride your bike, you could go jogging, you could do some yoga, you can even work in the garden. There's
Oh, I
different-
like that. Working in the
Oh
garden.
my God, that's some work.
Because
right
now
there.
I have a black thumb, though, so I'm not so sure. But I do like it. I like the concept of it, but the plants, not so much. So,
That's something to strive for.
Yes.
And number 13 is walking. Walking is one of the easiest exercise that we can do that we take for granted. But as you're walking, to be mindful of each step and maybe adding a breath to your step and maybe pausing and examining things, but also to be mindful and use your breath to connect.
oh, okay. And I like, mindfulness has, it's like a new buzzword this week because there's the owner of Headspace here in Southern California. He was on the Today Show, and apparently he was a monk. And then he created this app, I guess, for Headspace, and now mindfulness is a new addition, I guess, to meditation. And so if you could, just for a moment before we move on, how would you characterize the difference between mindfulness and meditation?
Well, part of mindfulness is a part of the Buddhist tradition.
Oh, okay.
That is their form of meditation. Their meditation, that's their, I guess, their brand or their trademark with meditation is the Buddhist is mindfulness. To be mindful of every action, to be conscious of every living thing around you. Part of it is the whole belief in karma. So the Buddhists believe that everything has a life force. And so to be mindful of the life force that exists in everything, whether it's a fly, whether it's a tree, whether it's a plant, whether it's the sun or the moon, it's the mindfulness of everything, knowing that everything around us has intelligence. So mindfulness is coined by the Buddhists, but it is used in all forms of new age thinking of exercising, meditation, and so on, all the accoutrements of the new age and the
Okay. All right. And the next number, I guess, what, 13?
number 13 was walking, and number 14 is listening to music.
Oh, okay. I love that one.
And I love music too. Before I became a life coach, and in the interim of becoming a life coach, I worked at a record label. I worked at Motown Records, Polygram Records.
Woohoo!
And so music,
Motown, Polygram, we know them all from the 70s.
Stop telling.
Okay.
I'm 29 and holding.
And so am I understand.
But music is very healing and very soothing, and everybody has a different taste in music that will relieve stress from them. But the bottom line is music is very healing to the body and to the nervous system. So number 14 is listening to music.
Okay.
And number 15 is pampering yourself.
Oh, okay. I love that. Pampering yourself. Okay.
Yeah, that's getting a massage, taking a hot bath, having a cup of tea, something to nurture yourself and allow your nervous system to calm down and de-stress itself.
Oh, okay.
And number 16, and I like to put it this way, just turn up the sides of your mouth.
Turn up as in smiling.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I love that.
Just
I
turn
love
up the
smiling.
sides of your mouth.
And I when we did our Valentine's show, some guys told me that the sexiest thing that a woman can wear is her smile.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, so,
so
we want to keep
wonderful.
our sexy on, so we'll go smiling and smiling and smiling. Okay.
Okay, and number 17, as corny as it may sound, is to have good posture. And meaning to sit upright, talk, open up your heart center. To have good posture is that you open up your lungs so your breath can flow easily through your body. So
Okay.
to stand tall instead of slumping, like, if you're slumping and humping, it's like it's not good. You can't breathe. You constrict your lungs. So, having good posture.
Very good.
Okay.
Okay.
And number 18 is taking control. And taking control goes back to what we were talking about being a victim or being aggressed upon. And so the thing is that you have to take control and to allow yourself to think about what your boundaries are and to set true boundaries and to hold them and to honor them. And it's back to saying no to say yes to yourself. So taking control, saying no to say yes to yourself, and setting boundaries.
Okay.
Okay. And number 19, and I have a question for you.
Okay.
If you were to close your eyes
Okay. Should I? Okay. I'm just going to listen. If I
Okay.
were to close my eyes.
so close your eyes.
Okay.
And take a deep breath.
All right.
And think about when you were a little kid
Okay.
and the smells in the house when you were a little kid and the
Sweet potato pie.
sweet potato pie. And
Uh-huh, that
just
dominated our house.
Close your eyes and just smell sweet potato pie.
Okay.
And how does that make you feel inside?
Happy.
Happy, exactly.
Yes.
So number 19 is aromatherapy.
Oh,
And
okay.
just that simple, we shift the nervous system in your body. We took you to a happy place with aromatherapy. So it could be smelling sweet potato pie, apple pie, lavender oil,
Onions,
jasmine
garlic.
oil. Hey, fried chicken.
Yeah, all of that. Oh God, I love it.
Okay, and number 20 is go decaffeinated. Even though they say coffee is good for you and it's really good for you, it's good for your nervous system, it's good for your heart. But to go decaffeinated, meaning to maybe drink decaf coffee, decaf tea, because caffeine stimulates your nervous system and can make you overactive, which can in turn produce stress for you.
Really?
Yeah, because you can't sleep at night and you're all anxious and have all this anxiety and the jitters and blah, blah,
Now
blah.
you're not going to believe this. I don't drink coffee and I don't drink tea, but I like hot sauce, especially on fried fish. So it does the same thing to me. I have
Well, cayenne peppers, the cayenne, which stimulates the nervous system, although cayenne, the heat in cayenne is different because it heats the gut, which then heats the brain, that heats the body. And so you have this heat all over, which can make you very active and agitated.
and dreams that I would never have under normal conditions or circumstances. And I know I had to finally figure that out. So cayenne pepper can't do that.
However, it's good for you in doses when you have a cold, but on a constant
really?
basis, yeah.
So what does cayenne pepper do when you have a cold?
It moves phlegm through the body,
Oh, okay.
and it helps blood to circulate in the lungs to release and dispel the mucus.
Oh, okay. Well, I like that. Then I will remember from now on that cayenne pepper is the way to go. I did not know that. I never even thought about it.
Well, there's a paste that you make. It's an Indian remedy. It's turmeric, which is that yellow curry look, which makes curry yellow. And
Okay.
turmeric is a natural antibiotic to help the body release infection. And so
Okay.
you turmeric, cayenne, honey, you make a paste, clears your throat, clears your cold, blah, blah, blah. And that's another show, Carolyn.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm
The
sorry.
healing
then.
powers
I
of
didn't-
herbs, girl. That's a whole nother show.
Herbs. Oh, okay. Well, now herbs, that covers a large territory, especially here in Los Angeles.
Medicinal herbs.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, and number 21 is nutrition, and to be mindful of what you're eating. You know, you're talking about the hot sauce and the fish late at night and not being
Yes.
able to sleep, so to be mindful of what you're eating. And it's not really good to have a heavy meal late at night. It does interfere with your sleep patterns because, you know, your body has to break it down, and it's different.
Yes. Well, not only does it interfere with your sleep pattern, I mean, I just can't believe some of the things I have done in my dreams that I would never do otherwise. So, I'm sorry. I thought, okay. We're going to take a break. I'm having so much fun. I forgot that we need to even take a break. And we're going to finish this up, and then I'm going to talk about some ways that people are not taking care of themselves when it comes to stress. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have Sahara Ali. She is a life coach and a stress management counselor. Now, I tell you, if you want the skinny on managing your stress, all that stress that you call me and tell me about personally, I want you to call the show because Sahara can help you. And the way she can help you is to call area code 323-293-3375. Again, that's 323-293-3375. Now, she has about 25 ways that she has, through her experiences, that she has deemed that are important in terms of helping you with stress and managing your stress. And so far, I agree with every one of them. So we're going to continue. We're going to finish our list, and we're going to talk about some things that you're doing out there thinking that you're managing your stress and perhaps creating more of a situation. Okay?
Okay, so we're on number 22, and number 22 is remember, don't sweat the small stuff, and everything is small stuff. You know,
Okay.
when we're stressed out, we make everything urgent, everything big, everything important. And so if we just look at it, don't sweat the small stuff.
Okay.
Then it's,
Well, in terms of sweating the small stuff, the chat room, they are talking away in there, and their concern is about marriage. And, you know, I guess any relationship, I guess, can be difficult, but marriage in and of itself, I guess, brings about a particular kind of stress because you want to be in love and you want things to go smoothly. So what would you offer married people in terms of managing and keeping managing stress and keeping it down.
Well,
in
I
your
think it's
relationship.
important in any relationship, whether you're married or not married, but especially in intimate relationships, is to understand who you are and to look at the expectation you have. Sometimes we get married and we have an expectation, and we don't talk about it. It's
Okay.
real important to talk about what the expectation is. What do you expect from this person? What does this person expect from you? In this union that we're creating together, who are we willing to be to celebrate each other, and how discerning are we in honoring what is important to us and what's important to the other person? We lose sight of that. You know, we think getting married means it's like, oh, I own this person owns me. That's the most boring relationship possible because we lose our identity. Being married does not mean you lose your identity,
Okay.
but it does mean being discerning enough with yourself and loving another person enough to honor who they are, respect who they are, respect what works for them and what doesn't, and to respect what works for you and come together as a unit
Yeah.
to be
You
a
know,
team.
it's very interesting. I find that people spend a lot of time planning the details of the wedding, but they don't spend not one moment planning what marriage is going to look like for them. And when you think about it, depending on your schedule and your interests, you're not going to have the same marriage as the person down the street. So,
Well, the biggest advice that I give anyone in a relationship is listen to what the other person is telling you. People will tell you who they are in the first 3 sentences of your conversation with them. So if
and
you
so believe them when they tell you.
believe them when they tell you. Exactly. If he says no children, he meant no children.
Yes,
Even though you think he didn't say otherwise.
yes.
Because then that's disrespecting his plan for his life.
Okay.
Or her plan for her life.
Okay. And all you married people in the chat room, call us. Okay.
Okay, and number 24 ties right into that. It's like, remember to love yourself and honor how important you are in your life.
Okay. Loving yourself. I find it fascinating that so many people have no love for themselves. It's amazing. How do you think someone else is going to love you if you don't love yourself? I'm
Exactly.
baffled
That
by
is
that.
absolutely right.
But I don't get it. So, but anyway, we move on.
And number 25, the big shebang is take time to celebrate yourself and celebrate your family.
Okay.
And your
I love
family
that.
is not necessarily those that you were born with, that you deem brother and sister, but those people who are of like mind that support your happiness, your wholeness, and your stress-free life.
Okay. And happiness and wholeness, there we go with that again. Because I think wholeness just came to the forefront, I'll say in the last 7 years that people have started to integrate wholeness. But it's not just in terms of what you eat, in terms of whole foods, but it's emotional, it is psychological. It's all of that in terms of making yourself a whole person. So.
Well, you look at your life from a 360 perspective, and then you do one of the stress management tools, which I think is number 9, is to rate it, to look at, and in fact, in part of my life coaching, we do this segment, which is called the pie. And we make a big circle and we separate it in 10 pieces of the pie.
Okay.
And so we label one personal self and we rate it from 1 to 10. How well are you taking care of yourself?
Okay.
And number 2 may be money. What is your relationship with money and what is your stress around money? Is it a 10? Is it a 9? Most people, number 2 is like an 8. They don't have any money. They don't know where they're going to get the money and they're in debt. And so you have to look at that and see what you're willing to do to change that. And like number 3 is relationships. How do you rate yourself in a relationship and your relationship?
Well, can you imagine it's a double whammy then, I guess, when it's a relationship with money issues?
Of course. Oh, that's really hard. And to coach someone through that, it's really interesting because sometimes it's not who they are and what they're trying to create. It's what they've been taught or the lack of information.
Yes.
And so to manage money, there's like a whole generation doesn't know what an allowance is.
Right.
Because it wasn't there. And so
Right.
to be able to manage money, you have to educate yourself. And that's with
true.
anything.
That's true. Well, one of the things I know for sure is that in terms of stress management, people do some very interesting things that's perhaps not in their best interest. And one of the things I hear a lot, and I'm not sure whether this is true, so I'm going to ask an expert. People believe that smoking weed is the fastest way to relieve their stress. They believe that this is the end-all, be-all, cure-all. And I say maybe sometimes, but not all the time.
Well, the Mayo Clinic has different healing properties from smoking weed, and it is not necessarily
recreationally.
It's the THC in the weed that affects the nervous system, and they are using THC or marijuana to help veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay.
People with arthritis, old people with glaucoma, people with scoliosis. And so, you're saying to use weed recreationally. Can't even say the word.
Recreationally.
To use recreational drugs. That's a perspective, and it's a habit and an addiction can be. But you have to look at, why am I smoking, if you want to do it that way from a therapeutic perspective. It's like, what stress are you trying to relieve, as opposed to burying your stress with smoking weed. Face your stress and then maybe smoke your weed, But the thing is to not make this substance the answer to your stress release, because there's other options to releasing your stress, as to smoking weed or whether drinking alcohol or taking pills.
But does it actually help to release stress?
The breathing part of it, yes, the THC, and there's various strains. I understand. I'm not an expert on marijuana, but I do know that some of the healing properties in marijuana does release stress, does relieve pain, does relieve anxiety in the body. In fact, they're using marijuana or THC to help individuals who have HDAD, HDAD,
yes,
and ADD,
adult. Yes.
Yes. And so marijuana is supporting that.
Okay.
So in your Mayo Clinic dynamic, there's maybe 50 illnesses or situations that are supporting the use of marijuana for healing purposes.
Okay.
But again, you're saying just to define your stress, and with that, I understand. I agree with you. To just go to it as your stress reliever, I don't advocate that. But I say identify your stress, and to identify how it's serving you by numbing yourself and not facing the reality of what's going on in your life. And that includes with marijuana, alcohol, pills, or anything, sex, Coca-Cola,
that was
Coca-Cola,
well, that was
candy.
The next one, sex and coffee. I'm still trying to figure out how sex and coffee are stress relievers. But I can understand that they may induce relaxation. But even in relaxation, that's not necessarily getting rid of stress.
Are you talking about the sex or the coffee?
Both. But in sex, I know that people believe that, all I need to do is have sex and I'll be fine. Well, as you and I talked earlier, it could make you a very promiscuous person, which brings another issue into the equation that perhaps you were not, that can cause stress.
Well, the dynamic of sex is not necessarily the act of sex. We take that for granted, that we think like pulling your clothes off is sex. Okay. So the healing aspect of sex is not the act of sex, it's the touching. Okay. There's been studies about babies who were not touched when they were born, and they have mental disorders, and they have like all kind of physical disorders, and some of them even are deformed because they had lack of touch. So in the exchange of touching, it releases chemicals in the body to relieve stress, to heal us. So, you don't always have to take your clothes off to get your sexual stress released. You could hold a hand, you could rub a shoulder, you could touch a forehead, you could rub a head. Just the matter of touch is what changes it.
Okay, well, I'm so glad that you clarified the aspect that makes the difference. It's touching, okay?
And kissing and hugging.
Okay, touching, kissing, and hugging. It doesn't have to be in that order.
In fact, in the current Essence magazine with Holly Robinson and Pete, yes, they have a rule that no matter what, every day they hug for 12 minutes.
Okay.
No, even if they're angry, if they are in a hurry, they will stop and just hug for 12 minutes, because 12 minutes of hugging releases chemicals in the body to open the heart center, to release stress, and to change the brain waves to help you be more calm as you go out into the world.
Oh, I love that. Now, married people in the chat room, did you get that? Okay. So hugging. And make an appointment to do so.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I like that because, like I said, I think people spend a lot of time on planning the wedding, but they don't spend a lot of time on what they're going to do to be married. So
Exactly. I agree.
we want some happily married people around here. Well, I just want to say that it has been a pleasure. I have learned so much from you, and I want to invite you to come back because we want to go deeper just in terms of health benefits of just reducing stress and making our lives, as you said, a lot more whole. So I just want to say thank you. The information that you have imparted has been invaluable, and I hope that my audience enjoyed the sharing as much as I enjoyed listening to you share. And as always, I tell the audience, our job here is to move from misery to magnificence and from subpar to spectacular. And you have helped us to do that. So thank you, Sahara Ali.
And thank you, Carolyn.
I really appreciate the dose of information. And I tell you, my stress level has gone down already. So thank you so much for joining us. We invite you next week. We're going to have, hopefully, a pastor will come and visit and tell us some of the stresses and the wonderful things about being a youth pastor. So thank you so much. Have a great evening, and I look forward to talking to you next week.